All right, let's talk about the guy who is everybody just refers to him basically as the coach's son. Whenever you hear anything about him, it's always he's the coach's son, and he is the quintessential coach's son here, guys. And that's Garrett Nussmeier.
Oh boy.
And talk about an interesting case this guy is. He really is an interesting case because I gotta say, out of all the players, I feel like I have a good read on what I think of him. I don't with Garrett.
Yeah.
I'm very mixed on him. There's some things where I go, okay, I like this. I don't like that. I don't know which one is the more important here. So 22 years old, 6'2", 200 pounds, born February 7th, 2002 in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Finally getting out of Texas. So his father, Doug, is the quarterback coach, guys, for the Philadelphia Eagles and a former NFL quarterback himself. Played from 94 to 98, primarily with the Saints. Wasn't exactly very good, but he still made it to the NFL. It's better than you and I. So I hear people like he was a horrible quarterback. Well, he's better than me.
Yeah.
Who am I to say that? I was starting left bench in high school. God damn it! Like seriously. So 21 at LSU, 29 of 57, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 5 rushes, -46 yards rushing. 22, 52 of 84, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1 rush for -13 yards. In 23, 48 of 78, 51 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 rush for 1 yard, and a touchdown that was. Now, you notice they're all very low numbers, obviously. This was all backup seasons. This is his first year starting, which is weird for a 4-year guy. 1 year.
That's what happens in some of those SEC schools, man.
Yes, it does, because you got, like you said, you got guys behind you at all times, and some of those guys are good players that start most places, but because you're at LSU or Georgia or Alabama, you sit for a little while. 9 games, 62.7 completion percentage, 2,866 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 19 rushes for 21 yards and 3 touchdowns. The pros and cons listed on him: good arm, great footwork, maneuvers in the pocket well, shows leadership skills, clean throwing motion. I had to say for a second, coaching son.
Yeah,
That was his
exactly.
dad. Like that's part of where I love. Like when you're pros to me are things you acquired. It's funny we talked about the whole like father son thing with Sanders. To me, this is where it becomes more of like you got this because of your daddy kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking him by any means. Listen, if my father was an NFL quarterback and I wanted to be a quarterback,
I'm milking it.
Yes, Dad, please help me every single chance you get.
Exactly.
Like I'm not knocking him for any means when I say that. But when your things that you're good at are for the most part things that you probably picked up from your father, that to a certain degree scares me because that makes me question how much is there natural skill that we can elevate? Or is he already elevated to where he can be because he's basically been being elevated his whole life? You know what I mean? Like,
if for me, look, I think he's a traits guy, and again, it's all about fundamentals. He has great fundamentals. Footwork is practice. You know, like there's no when you say somebody there's no natural footwork when you're talking about a quarterback position. You can be naturally athletic. When it comes to operating in the pocket, that's something that you're taught. And again, you can tell that at a certain age, young age, he was, he was taught all these drills, taught how to maneuver in the pocket, and he takes that with him. I like him. He is just below Jalen Milroe to me. It depends on, and I don't. Well, LSU probably won't even make it to the playoffs. Anyway, so we probably see him for like 2 more games, and that's going to be it. But like you, I'm intrigued by him, but not enough to say that I gotta have Garrett Nussmeier. He's more of a consolation prize to me. If you don't get that quarterback in the first, you feel like one, and then you tell me I can get Garrett Nussmeier day 2, then I'm thinking about Garrett Nussmeier there. But nothing wows me from Garrett, but also he's competitive. He's sneaky athletic. He can take off. He can get a first down with his legs. I think he is smart with the ball. But outside of that, nothing fantastic, but nothing bad. He's just what do you want? I hate to say meh or mediocre. Always sounds bad when you say mediocre, but really mediocre is he's average. He's average at his best, maybe. But also with him, unlike Milroe, you can see that sky could possibly be the limit. Are we already at where Nussmeier is already?
Yeah.
But also, he only started. This is his first time,
Yep.
as a full-time starter, so he might have, more to grow. We'll see though.
Yeah, and that's the thing you just don't know, and you got to kind of project to that. And I think a lot of that is when you look at tape and you want to see mistakes. Go, okay, if I fix this, he can do this.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. Like you said, his fundamentals and his motions are so good that it's
Solid,
like
solid.
you look at it and go, is this the ceiling? But there are nuances, like you said, 1 year, and that's one of the first things we look at the cons: lack of experience. The first year as a starter, he does make some bad decisions downfield. Sometimes that's experience as well, right there. Does not run through progressions well. Again, he's been sitting with a clipboard for the last 3 years at that
Yeah,
point. The only thing he can necessarily, you can say aren't necessarily experience issues is he is definitely a little bit underweight for his height there.
yeah.
Definitely needs to go visit
Size is not on his side.
yeah, he
Size
needs
is
to
not on
visit
his
the
side.
Golden Corral a few times there, or go hang out Eddie Lacy for a little while there at that point, just gain a few pounds. Um, but yeah, he's the guy that really intrigues me because I don't know what to think because again, I I think he can go to the NFL and be a good, decent backup quarterback,
Yeah,
and that would not shock me.
yeah.
Or he could be a guy that starts off, doesn't look that great, kind of warms into the position, so to speak, because he gets the nuances of the timing and stuff like that down a little better at that point. You get only by actually playing the game and him progressing into a good quarterback. Either one of them could happen, and either one would shock me. I would lean towards the backup. I think that's where he's probably going to be his bread and butter. The kind of Jason Garrett kind of backup there. And again, not to use the name that Giant fans hate to hear, but a guy who's a sound fundamentals guy that'll probably be a coach himself when he's done playing at that point as well and take after his dad in that respect as well. That's where I probably see him more likely. But him, unlike Milrow, we talked about a minute ago, I feel like he's the guy you have to just throw out there
Yeah.
because he's got to get that experience, that game experience. You don't get that by sitting and playing in practice.
You know who he kind of reminds me of, like, and not exactly, like, kind of like Kirk Cousins at Michigan State, where all the fundamentals are there.
Yep.
Like the brain is there. Like I said, all the small intangibles are there, and he's just a smart guy. But how far does his talent take him? Like for Kurt Warner, for Kirk Cousins, he's not like special. Like there's nothing like, but he's just progression is there. Doesn't have the strongest arm, but his time and his accuracy are there. Sometimes he's a bonehead and doesn't make the right play. Same kind of deal. But at his best, you can win some games with him. And I feel that that's kind of like what you get with Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah.
Would I draft him and expect him to be the franchise quarterback? Absolutely not. Could he develop into a solid starter? I will put him in that category where day 2, late day 2, guy, I'm not gonna, there's no pressure on you for, we're not looking at you as a starter right now, or at least we shouldn't think of you as a starter right now. Give you some time to develop. And you know what? You're not too good that we won't draft over you, but we're also going to give you a fair opportunity to develop and see if we could take a shot with you.
Yeah, and if I'm Giants brass and I'm looking at him as a guy as a plan B kind of guy,
Absolutely.
there is one guy that I'm talking to nonstop about him, and that's Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is going to give you a lot of insight into how he is, how he works with receivers. There's a lot of things the Giants have an upper hand when scouting this guy because of that.
He doesn't lack confidence either. He's confident. Yeah, he's a confident guy.
And it's funny you mentioned the Kirk Cousins things. That's a great example because of the fact that we talk about the leadership skills. Like Kirk Cousins is one of those guys. Let's be frank. Kirk Cousins has been a good quarterback in this league for quite a while. I wouldn't necessarily say he's been a great quarterback, but he's been a good quarterback in this league for quite a while. But there's one thing about him: his teammates freaking love him.
Yeah,
absolutely love him. Those guys will go to battle with him on any day of the week.
As awkward as he is, too, because he's awkward.
Yeah,
they love him though.
Wearing like the grandpa
chains.
clothes at that point, but then popping on the chains randomly and stuff like he just knows how to be a leader.
And it's genuine too. It doesn't look like he's corny. He's absolutely corny.
Yeah.
But it's genuine. He's not doing it as a show. He's just,
Oh, he's definitely the dad joke guy. I guarantee his dad jokes nonstop.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Nussmeier is the same way. He is a leader. And when you listen to a lot of the teammates talk about him, they've all talked extremely positive. And there's two different types of positive. There's the generic positive where you go, okay, I don't know if this is legit or not. And then you can just sit there and sometimes listen to somebody talk about someone and go, okay, this is genuine. They actually legit like they're going off script. This isn't like he's a teammate of mine. We're going to battle together, blah, blah, blah. Like they go off script and they say the things that aren't the generic responses to these kind of questions.
Yeah.
So, great example, Kirk Cousins with him at that point there. But I don't think it's necessarily fair to expect that kind of career out of him.
No.
But it's not impossible.
I just mean coming out of Michigan State. Yeah. Like,
oh no, I hear what it's saying. I'm just saying, just to be clear, on people go, Kirk Cousins, I take him in a heartbeat. Let's go for it. Because let's be honest, we've been staring at Daniel Jones for 6 years. Who wouldn't take Kirk Cousins right now as a Giant fan?
Yeah, well, now, especially right now. And then I just thought it was kind of funny. Remember, Kirk Cousins was like one of those first quarterbacks coming out of college that ran his own pro day.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep. And it's funny because he's a guy that obviously was one of the duos that the Washington team took, a few years ago, back to back. And I've been saying that forever with Giants fans. If I were the Giants, I would have no problem doing that this draft. I'm not kidding with you.
No, I know you're not. I know
there's a lot of level B quarterbacks in this draft, guys.
Some good ones.
If you look at the hit percentage of number ones is not very good. And quarterbacks do get injured.
Yeah.
And Drew Lock is a free agent. DeVito, I like him as a potential backup, but he's got a ceiling. And the ceiling's not exactly high on him, guys. I know some people love him. He's a good story. His agent's funny as hell. But there's only so far going like this. When this is your best football move, okay, you can only get so far.
It's a pretty good move, though. It's a pretty good move.
It's a pretty damn good move. But if you could go out and get a guy like a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders in the first, and then go back in the fourth and take, a Nussmeier or somebody like that, I wouldn't be upset at all following that exact plan and going, okay, this is my guy. Not? This is the guy that's going to be our backup for the next couple of years as well. And in the back of my head go, this is a plan. I got a plan B over here. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world because this isn't a very top-heavy QB draft. But it is, there's a lot of QBs in this draft. A lot of them with the potential.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.